Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Some people are surprised to see a woman as an electrician. So did the guy in our first story who was confused about our OP. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Hey, where's that guy that was here? I'm a female electrician. I completely understand how rare that is, and that you wouldn't immediately assume that when you look at me. I choose not to wear company clothing, and I don't like wearing tool belts. Later this month, I'm taking the exam for my master's license, so I'm certainly not new at the job. Anyway, I'm working in the electrical panel, and a guy from the neighborhood, like I mentioned in my last post here, it's always the old men, walks up to me and asks, "Hey, where's that guy that was here?" Me. I don't know, what guy? Him. The one who does the electrical. Me. I'm doing the electrical. Him. Scratches the back of his head. Yeah, but he was helping me out, answering some questions I have. Me. I gotcha, he's my coworker, but he left. Him. Well, who else is here? I saw him with another guy. Me. It's just me here, is there anything I can help you with? Him. So they're both gone, huh? He was explaining how my switches work. You know, there's so many, I'll just wait until I see him around again. Me. Yeah, good idea, because he did such a great job explaining it to you the first time. Him. Huffs and stomps off. I'm good with it. It's not like I get paid any extra to answer simple questions that were just answered an hour ago. I was there when he talked to my coworker, by the way. He doesn't understand why he has dead switches. We put in 2 switches for ceiling fans, one operates the fan itself, and one is there in case the fan comes with a light. This guy has fans with remotes, so the remote kit's hooked up to the switch for the light. Therefore, the one for the fan isn't functional because the remote now controls both the fan and the light. Really complicated stuff, I tell you. And our second story. My first boss and how he got the whole team every certification available. When I turned 14 years old, I got my first summer job and had one of the best bosses I'd ever had. I recently found out that, unfortunately, my mentor and someone I would consider a friend, John, passed away. Although it's been well over 20 years, I still use the lessons learned and the work ethic he passed on to me. Although at times he could be hard, he was more than fair and always did the right thing for those that worked for him. This is the story of John versus the new president. Before I get into the story, I need to give some background and context on John. John was the textbook all-American boy. John had attended a prestigious boarding school somewhere in New England and eventually attended Yale back in the late 50s or 60s. And he was not only a scholar, but a 3-sport athlete. He played football, he boxed, and was a captain on the track and field team. Fast forward to when this story takes place, and John was still in phenomenal shape for a late 60s, early 70s man. John opted to move out to the country, start a family to follow his passion, which was teaching at the local high school and coaching high schoolers in various sports. Obviously, he was the high school football coach, taught track and field, he was an outstanding shot put athlete, and could run the mile and many other long distances. As a teacher, he had the summers off and became a lifeguard at the local town beach, eventually becoming the captain of the lifeguards. Over time, he developed standards for the town/county/state lifeguards to pass. He really transformed what was a ragtag style of lifeguards into a full-fledged official lifeguard corps, training academy, and set the standards for what's still used today. John was eventually hired to run the lifeguards and manage the entire private beach club instead of working for the town beach. One of the biggest challenges of this, since it was a private beach club, John now reported to the president of the beach club who oversaw how things were run. I started working for John as a helper on the beach and then eventually a lifeguard, and for the first couple of summers things were great. The president of the beach club took pride in having the best staff and making sure that lifeguards were well paid, and to his credit, safety was the utmost priority. This private beach club certainly catered to the more wealthy clientele who wanted a nicer club instead of going to the public beach. Some of the advantages were the amenities, which were lockers, cabanas, private parking, a very nice restaurant that served great food and drinks. This was one of the few beach clubs that also had the ability to serve alcoholic beverages. One of the good things John had instituted was that any returning member of the staff from the previous summers automatically got a raise. This ensured that staff returned the next summer, avoiding a lot of retraining and, as you can imagine, growing pains with the new staff. What was even better was that if you returned multiple summers, you still got an additional raise. Most summers, this was $1 or $2. As an example, I started at $7.25 an hour at 14 years old. This was back in the late 90s. And by the time I was in college, I was making almost $15 an hour. Typically, the president of the club serves a term which is a few years, and when his term was up, a new president was ushered in. Upon taking office, the new president loudly proclaimed that he wanted to ensure that the club had fiscal responsibility, and he would be personally going over the books with a fine-tooth comb. His first order of business was to cut everyone's pay all the way back to minimum wage and fire most of the lifeguards. Now, as noted above, the staff was there for a long time, knowing most of the members and how to run the place. Prior to the start of the summer, upon learning that their hourly wage would be cut, most of the senior staff immediately left and were quickly hired elsewhere. The lifeguards were spared at the appeal of John to ensure safety, although some senior guards left for other beaches and pools. John was able to convince the lifeguards as he would take care of things. While John agreed to have the staff take the pay cut, he convinced the new president that any lifeguards with additional certifications would get $2 an hour on top of the base minimum wage. The new president obviously didn't consider that any of these lifeguards would put in the effort or if it was feasible to get any certifications in time for the summer season, and he agreed to the plan. As you can imagine, John basically established the process and curriculum for becoming a lifeguard and personally trained and hired most, if not all, the trainers in the town and county. John was also a volunteer fireman and knew all the EMS personnel and, not surprisingly, had either taught them in school or hired them as lifeguards in their past lives. John quickly called in favors from every trainer and certifier across the county who were more than happy to repay all the favors John had done for them in the past. Most waived the training fees and expedited the training sessions for the lifeguards, and they wanted to promote safety for the community. Prior to the start of the Memorial Day weekend and what's effectively the unofficial start of summer, all of us lifeguards and new staff became certified in pretty much every single possible certification that existed at the time. I mean, I'm talking crazy complete overkill and unnecessary certifications for a regular lifeguard. We got trained as either EMS and EMTs, although lifeguards had to be certified in CPR. We retrained and got our CPR certifications again. Life-saving ocean and pool rescue techniques. Certified swimming instructor, certified food inspector, the club had a kitchen, certified county pool operator license, certified sanitary inspector, cleaning the bathrooms. We even had one guy who wanted to learn how to scuba. The county's firefighters had a water rescue team who coincidentally were certified scuba instructors. Most of us guards became certified divers, open water divers, deep water rescue divers, the whole works. I could go on and on about all the certifications we got. The lifeguards not only went back to their original wage, but in most cases went well above what their previous wages were. At 18 years old and back in the 90s, I personally went from making $15 an hour to $27 an hour, all due to the certifications and trainings. It took a month or so for the fallout to happen. While the new president tried to renege on the deal, John was smart enough to have a formal arrangement in place, and there was nothing the new president could do besides bitch about it. He wound up resigning his position to spend more time with his family at the beach. We rarely saw him around that summer, and I think he eventually stopped coming altogether, opting to join another club. John made nice with the new president and explained his philosophy on training and keeping staff. The new president agreed, and some of the senior staff wound up coming back with the promise of their original wage. A few weeks ago, I heard from friends and former colleagues that just at the start of the summer season, John passed away in his sleep of natural causes at the ripe old age of 91. He was still working, although not as much as in the past. It was more of a I want to keep busy type of thing than a need to work. Every morning, he'd take out the lifeguard's rowboat and get some exercise in. After all, he was a certified rowing instructor. R.I.P., John. You were the best. John was amazing. He sounds like one of the most noble people that ever existed. May he never be forgotten. And our last story. I know the owner. You will be fired tomorrow. The farm store is a community. Employees, vendors, customers. In a small town, so most people, save for tourists, know each other and either know or have met the farm owner. That's cool. But people try to take advantage of that fact, especially the mere acquaintances of the owner, who'll be named Farmer John for the purposes of this post. I receive my fair share of dumb people pretending they know the owner better than they do, to which I always want to say, yeah, I know him too. One night, this woman, FP for Fancy Pants, came in 10 minutes to close and started doing serious grocery shopping. Annoying enough on its own, but we're used to it, so we just close what we can. She finally makes it up to the checkout counter. I get everything rung and bagged, but her credit card isn't working. Me. It looks as though your card isn't going through. Would you like to try it again or use another form of payment? FP. I don't have another credit card on me, and I don't have any cash. Me. We can take a check if you have one with you. FP. No, this is all I have with me. Can't I just go home and come by to pay tomorrow? Me. I'm sorry, I can't do that. If you live in neighborhood name, I can hold your groceries here while you run home to grab payment. We're okay with that. FP. It doesn't matter if I live close. I don't have time to do that. I've got a conference call. I know Farmer John, and I'm sure he'll be fine with me coming back to pay tomorrow. Me. Ma'am, I don't have the authority to approve that, and no manager on site currently. Either you have to produce a way to pay or come back tomorrow when we reopen. I can store your items so you don't even need to reshop. At this point, FP lays into me about how ridiculous this is and how she's going to complain to Farmer John and he'll fire me. All I do is repeat the pay or leave your bags here line. Suddenly, FP gets that I'm not just letting her leave with $80 of groceries and magically pulls a different credit card out of her pocket. It works. She gets her stuff and hates me from that point on. The best part is that 2 weeks later she comes in and Farmer John's there. She says hi to him and tries to engage him in conversation, and he clearly does not know or recall this woman. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.